compliance with Federal Information Act. Notice of this meeting is submitted by Tracts and Spartanburg Herald Journal, posted on the bulletin board in Town Hall and on town's website. Now the invocation.
Let us have about the King's solid plan. For when our council that we lost the first of the week, this Debbie, formerly Littlejohn, some of you might know her, and also our other council member, April Green, she lost her nephew. So we would say a solid prayer for her, I appreciate it very much. And Father God, we come tonight just thanking you for all the blessings you have blessed us with, Lord God. Father, we thank you for your mercy, and we thank you for your grace. We thank you, Father, for all things and everything. And Lord, we just asking you to just be with us as we make decisions for the planning by project, oh God. Lord, we know what we need and what we don't need. And Father, whatever it is, oh God, let it be in your name. And let us be in a clock and whatever you choose for us to do, Lord, that we will do it. And Father, we thank you, we love you, we just praise you, and give you all the praises, oh God. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Motion to change in old business B to A and A to B.
I make a motion to change our old business number A to number B, B to number A.
I second.
Motion made and second. Any questions? All in favor? All opposed? Okay. We'll do that. Need a motion to go into executive session and contractual agreement and economic development.
I make a motion to go to executive session. Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor? All opposed? Okay. Call meeting to order. Whole business, we'll consider the second reading of the ordinance, Annex town, Pacolet, South Carolina, 10 contract, 10 tracts of land containing 110 acres of, all those acres.
It's approximately 798.7 acres.
Is it 10?
It's 10 tracts.
Oh,
It's 10 tax map.
okay.
Tax parcels altogether. Make a motion that we approve the second reading of ordinance Annex for the listed parcels.
Motion made, Annex, consider second reading, approve the second reading of the ordinance, for those 10 tracts.
One second.
Motion made and second. Any questions?
Is there an ordinance number on this one?
It's 2023 dash.
Oh, the ordinance 2023 dash.
I just didn't see it on the agenda. I was just making sure.
Yeah.
You got it.
Okay, motion made and second. Any questions? All in favor? All opposed? Okay, and consider a resolution to approve development contract between the town of Pacolet and Riverbend Aggregates LLC. We have that in here. Okay?
Make a motion to approve, resolution to approve the development contract between town Pacolet, Riverbend, Aggregates.
One second.
Motion made and seconded. Any questions? All in favor? All opposed? Okay. Moving on to new business. Consider approval of grant application to the South Carolina REA Infrastructure Planning Grant to fund Stormwater Plan and Evaluation in the amount of $25,000.
We've talked about this project before. It's approximately $100,000 to do an evaluation, mapping of the stormwater systems throughout the entire town of Pacolet. Currently going through a CDBG grant process for the amount of $50,000 to cover that. And also requesting the South Carolina Rural Infrastructure Authority grant in the amount of $25,000. So it would cost the town $25,000 once if we receive both the CDBG and the RCIA. And I'm requesting that we pursue this grant. Appalachian Council of Governments has agreed to fill out the application and apply on our behalf.
So let me ask you, you said that there's also a secondary grant that's involved, right?
The CDBG?
Yeah, so there's CDBG and then the RIA.
Yes.
So that if we get both, then we'll only pay 25. What if we don't get the CDBG?
If you only get the CDBG and you want to pursue and want to move forward, then you would still have to pay the remaining amount.
Okay.
If you only get the SCRIA and didn't get the CDBG, if you wanted to pursue, you would still have to pay it. If you don't want to pursue, drop the whole thing.
Okay. I make a motion to approve 25% grant funding for the stormwater evaluation.
Motion made and seconded to approve the grant application. Any questions? All in favor? All opposed? Moving on. Go ahead.
The next section here is a sewer system expansion request. West Main Street, section of that does not have sewer. Have a request from an individual who owns property out there, Mr. Damian Morrell, and would like to have sewer in that area. And so I reached out to Rich Anderson, who's currently with Summit Engineering, that we have contracted out for 3 years, and get a rough estimate of the cost of what it would take to connect. There's currently already sewer that runs down West Main Street, turns on to Memorial, and then goes across over to Jerusalem and goes around Central Pacolet. To get the sewer from where he is, it would go from behind Coleman Store down to the last building in the Pacolet Station area, turn approximately north to go to Memorial Drive. All those properties in there then would be eligible to tap on there.
Can you tell me when Mr. Morrell sent you the letter?
I have to look back. I have to look at my email and find out. I can look at that real quick.
Roundabout idea?
Probably about a month, 2 months ago, 3 months ago. He's interested in doing some restaurants out in that particular area. And so I said, if we could possibly do sewer, but you'd have to request that, bring in council, letter would work great. And so he put together a letter that was presented to me. At first, I was going to wait until next year to bring this to you guys, and the reason being was we were already applying for an SC REA grant as it is. But when talking to ATOG, it comes out of 2 pots of money. One, there's a planning operation or planning grant section up there. There's another section for actual basic infrastructure. And so I asked them, could we apply for both at the same time? They said, absolutely. And they will be filing the application on behalf of the town as well.
Have you talked with the property owners and explained to them what the connection fees would cost?
I have not talked to them.
So let's say Mr. Merrill's property, when he connects to the sewer system, he's talking about doing restaurants, which would indicate he's going to have a grease trap. So the fees involved in connecting a grease trap and then also the restrooms in the building. Do we have an estimated cost for stormwater water? Or does he know that there's going to be costs?
Yes, there actually will be costs. The only thing we're doing is running a line up there. But
Right.
He will still have to pay for the cost of tapping out to
The
it.
reason I'm asking is I'm trying to figure out, you know, like, do the property owners understand the cost after the sewer's there? So before we get a grant to spend $200,000 and $70,000 of our own that nobody may connect to, once it is $10,000 connected to a sewer line because it's a business, are they still gonna want to do such a thing? See what I'm saying? So,
I understand.
I also did see in here, number 5 says service reconnections. There's $3,000 appropriated for service reconnections.
Yes.
Connect to existing system is 10,000, so service reconnections, there's nobody there, so what is the service reconnection?
There may be, and I think he may have just put it in there as a possibility. There may or may not be, I don't know, if that property that's right there on Memorial Drive, there's a trailer there, and there's another building there. Actually, there's 3 buildings there. I don't know if they currently have sewer that's out there.
So I'm gonna chime in on this.
Yeah, because there's other properties there, that your other properties there.
Right, yeah, I'm gonna let council, the rest of council kind of deliberate and vote on this because of my proximity. Patrick did let me know that, you know, this is likely gonna cut through 2 of my parcels. It's gonna cut through my current septic field, it's gonna cut through maybe a fence. You know, that's inconvenient for me, but it's, considering, you know, it will help a legacy store in town, my neighbor. I've agreed to not fight that in any way. I have a freshly serviced septic system that works fine, but I can see how this could benefit future development there. So because a good chunk of this is on my property, I'll probably bow out from a vote, but I just wanted to say that I have no problem with this, you know, cutting through. I know there will be costs. I'll be kind of forced to connect, I think, because it's going to go through my septic field, and that's kind of something I'm willing to do for that neighborhood. So that's my 2 cents on that. And I'll just bow out unless you guys have any more questions about how that might affect my property.
Well, don't we need to check with those homeowners around there, see if they're willing to pay the $10,000 whatever dollars is to connect, like Jason said. We do all this work, or have all this work done, and they're like, I'm not tapping into it, I got a sewer, I'm just fine.
Well, I might be able to answer that. It looks like it's not going to affect anyone but, unfortunately, me. It looks like it's running along property lines, so it wouldn't affect any septic. If they had a septic, they don't want to tie in. It doesn't look like they have to. I might be the only one forced to in this instance, which is kind of what I was saying.
I think it's a good idea to put sewer through there. I mean, there's another property right beside the last, I don't know the addresses, I'm sorry, but beside the pink building, there's more property there. And that property would also be able to be developed. And it's still part of that business district. So I think it's a good idea. And I think we should proceed with, you know, like trying to get the grant to do this. I think it's a good idea. It's urban center, so even in the future, when the property owners that live in the residential houses might want to sell, and you know, it just makes sense to upgrade the system through there. I want to make sure that the town isn't paying for any of these connections. And the reason I say that is because if we're paying for connections, then there's a lot of residential and other businesses that need sewer as well.
Correct.
That we should be pursuing. I mean, Ms. Macbeth has said for years, you know, her district lacks sewer, and you know, so we're looking at this because it's going to provide for business growth, and I think it's a good idea. But I think we should also pursue grants that are for some of the districts that don't have sewers and don't have the capability to. I mean, the gravity fed line. This is a gravity fed line. And I know, in particular, in her district, this is about you, I'm sorry. The road you actually live on, there would be a gravity-fed line straight down to the main line as well. So it would be a very cheap and feasible system. So I think we should not just look at some of these. This is a great opportunity because it's business district, but I think we should look at some of these other districts too and see if we can also get sewer in these other ones. Again, I know it was a short timeline. You know, you got a letter and you realized that the grant process was really quick, and I think it's due on the 12th.
Correct.
I believe. I don't like short notice stuff.
Absolutely.
It's hard for me to understand and really put knowledge into anything when it's a short timeline. But I feel like this is a feasible project that would probably help the business growth of the town.
And this, what I like about this is it kind of gives us, you know, I'm not sure when the last time y'all have done a sewer expansion.
Probably 13, 14 years ago, I think.
But, you know, this would kind of get us into the track of doing those. This is a very, very, very small
Our
project.
name will start being on the list.
Yes, I'll start adding a lot
That's
to the
important.
list.
You know, once you're out there, people realize this is what you're gonna start doing. And
Absolutely.
these grants, you know, they'll see the grants, writings, and then they'll expect it the next time, I'm sure, so.
One other little fun fact, just for you guys, and this is just information, because again, my proximity. But the oldest building, I think it's the oldest on the end there, it's 160, my direct neighbor. He's the owner of the new Southern Flavors restaurant in Central Pacolet. And his property line is the footprint of his building. So the reason he moved his restaurant to Central Pacolet, or had to, was because he has no septic, no sewer. Basically nothing in the building as far as waste. So there's kind of a perfect example of what this would solve. And again, that's just information that most people wouldn't know unless they were living next door.
What I can do is if you want to pursue this grant, I can reach out more to the property owners. I think Pedro owns the property down from here, but I'll reach out to more of them and kind of keep y'all updated. So if, you know, once we get to the point where we're ready to move forward and they'll all know what's happening, what's going on.
Yeah, you know, I'm only saying this as a courtesy to the property owners,
Sure.
so they understand. The service connection fee for a non-residential, it depends on the meter size, of course, but it starts at $1,200 and goes to $158,000 connection.
You know, also too, if you have sewer available, that you can be forced, because you're only allowed so many septic backs after it's installed, I believe I've heard.
Yeah, so the way it works on a business is there's no limitation to it, but the size of the septic system, the leach field and the tank itself would restrict the number of occupants that you can have in your restaurant in any period of time.
Well, I'm talking about a lot of residents, if there's sewer available, I thought it seemed like I'd heard one time that they could be forced if there was sewer available.
I think that depends on maybe counties or something like that.
Yeah.
I know they can't make you do it, and they can't make you tap to the water if the water comes through.
Right.
I think that's under construction.
But, you know, you're not talking about, you know, checking with, just a handful of people
There's only
anyway.
4 houses on it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, you're not talking about a whole lot of people.
If anything, just notify that there is a cost associated with the connection, you know, just to make sure. I still think we should pursue the grant with the sewer in there because future property owners 50 years from now might still want to connect to it and have a business there.
Absolutely.
You know, if he wants to, if the property where the old banana box used to be wants to have a couple restaurants in there, I think it's a great idea. It's a good investment for him too, so.
Good point.
Well, I think they need to go back and look at his estimate with, as far as that service reconnection fee.
That might be just something in there that Summit Engineering is the one that's doing the estimate. So the engineering group that the town employs is the one that put that estimate together. I think this might just be a generic format that they use for cost.
If we're putting in a fuel line, they have to take somebody's service and then retap it.
That's right, yeah, so they might have just overlooked or something of that sort. And this sewer system is going by a couple residential properties, so there might be, you know, somebody that's connecting to a different line that's a better, you know, gravity fed line, who knows, I don't know.
Okay, you need a motion to go ahead and,
I need a motion for the council to approve, the pursuance of the grant.
okay,
I motion to pursue the grant for, basic infrastructure to fund the sewer system expansion.
okay. Motion, need a second.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Any questions? All in favor? All opposed? And Thomas, you abstained, so you. All right. Anything new?
I do. I wanted to let you know you've got, the different, amounts of proposals from the, landscape contract, and I'm asking you to approve those tonight. I want you to just look through those. You probably should have some questions, since the second, lowest is double the amount of the first lowest. I'd like for us to consider these. You may want to consider rebidding these out, or moving forward on there. Like I said, I'm not asking for any votes tonight, but I think we'll discuss this at the next, meeting in September. Next thing on there is I have a limb pickup contract for y'all to review. I've got that in paper format here, or if you'd like me to email it to you, I can. And it would have him starting on Monday if y'all did to approve that. The last thing on there is, at the last council meeting, we had discussed the Doug's Tree Service invoice. I didn't know if any of you all had a chance to talk to the former administrator. If you want to go ahead and pay this, we can wait till the next council meeting if you'd like. Or if you'd like for Mr. what's his name? Doug Foster to come to the next council meeting, that can work.
Well, we need some information on it, that's for sure.
Absolutely. I just don't I don't want council to set the precedence of anybody who brings an invoice from a past date gets paid.
You know, that part back anyway.
Correct. That's all the comments that I've got.
Okay, thank you.
So what was the contract, what was that you said we didn't have?
Ma'am?
The tree pickup?
Yes, I've got the limb pickup, contract, and that was for, Jarima Landscaping.
And we'll vote on last time.
That was the one that y'all had chosen at the last council meeting.
Yeah.
Do we have a copy of it?
That's for y'all to review. I've got a couple more copies back in my room.
And I think Patrick will tell you, Travis is going around and getting some of those up now to kind of reduce that price, that's not that price, but the amount of piles he'll have to pick up, yards or whatever. He's going around now picking them up, right? Picking up some to reduce this.
Yes, I'm working with Travis on this, and so he's putting together a list of every parcel, every yard that has limbs that need to be picked up. And then also what he's doing is we're kind of rating them small, medium, large, and massive piles. Like the one that's 2 doors down from Mr. Hood on Dogwood, is that correct?
Dogwood Drive, yeah.
So ones that are extremely large, we're gonna let this other group go after them. And so Travis and Mike are going tomorrow to finish listing out all of them out there, and then go ahead and pick up the small, medium-sized limbs. So you may get complaints, and we will get complaints, that they were driving by and leaving limbs that are out there. And the reason being is they are letting the company that we're paying much bigger dollars to take care of things.
Okay.
Do you know when potentially they would start doing this?
I sent them they had sent me a contract before. I didn't like what was in there, so I rewrote the contract. This is what you see. I sent that to them today. I'm waiting for them to respond back and sign. If they are good with that and you don't have any major concerns with it, I plan on having him go ahead and sign this week and start on Monday.
Did you send us the business process?
Excuse me?
You don't have to. Much.
Yeah.
Is here.
With a landscape contract, I definitely get a lot more involved in that. With this limb pickup, it's,
Nuts.
yeah.
Well, when it's individual houses that, or random houses, I think it's important that the language makes sense. It's identified specifically. Maybe you should provide them with the addresses that they must go pick up at their own schedule and route and case, and it's X amount of property, something of that sort.
So what we've got on there in the contract is kind of a breakdown, is the contract's $117 per pile, maximum of 100 piles. No, we're not gonna pay any more than the $11,700, no more than the 100 piles that are out there.
Gotcha.
Every single pile that they pick up has to, they take a picture of it before they pick it up, and we have the address of that particular property. So if they want to count a pile that doesn't make sense to us, we can verify based on picture and address.
Sounds good.
And then before we end up making the payment, I will go out and drive through all the streets. If anybody else would like to come with me, drive around and verify that everything's been done appropriately and all of the piles were picked up, then we'll make that payment.
As far as the landscape contract, after that other stuff that I had, do you think it's necessary maybe to review the RFP on that? Or do you think the numbers that we got are suitable?
The only thing that I think on there is the landscape company that we currently have ended up being the lowest bid.
Yeah, but our ordinances allow
Yes, yeah, I
us
agree.
to decide differently if we so please.
Absolutely. What I kind of think is, and I could be wrong, is that because he's intimately involved in what, on a day-to-day basis, of what he actually does.
He understood what it really was instead, so that's why I was saying, just looking at the numbers real quick, do you think it's necessary to put that back out there with a little bit more detail?
It wouldn't be a bad idea. I think it possibly would be a good idea. The only thing is then we're just prolonging this exercise.
I mean, but we already have Parker Landscaping on an extended contract, so he's still gonna be doing the work, and if he's the lowest bidder, then he'd do the work anyway. I'm just saying, maybe we should review the RFP, and then put that out there with some additions and some extra information. Just some, like we talked about, just the simple circumstance of the property down here. It says 13 acres, but only like 4 of them actually get cut. People look at these and they put prices to these things. They don't actually come and take a look in person. They see 13 acres of mowing on one property, X amount of hours labor, so much fuel, X amount of streamlines and roundup, that kind of thing. So I think maybe it would be a good idea to put that back out there.
The only thing I would push back on that particular thing is if it meant enough for them to come out and look at the property and verify it, it seemed like it didn't. They just took an aerial, they took it by the amount of acres and just bid it versus actually coming out here and looking at it.
Right.
That kind of makes me kind of think a little bit about them as well. And they should take the extra effort to come and do that.
But we might find somebody that didn't know that it was out there and that's.
Correct, that's true.
So, and quite possibly, right now is a lot of times where other landscape contracts are given. So what if some contractors have put bids out that they didn't get, now they are available to do this, and they're not gonna overextend themselves, so. I would like for you to put a new RFP out.
Do you mind if I get, if council is okay with that, one, to go ahead and put the RFP out again? The other thing is, if that's the case, then if council can give me some type of vote or resolution or something to extend the contract for Parker's lawn maintenance into
Another couple
September, into October.
Yeah.
When does it end now for the extension?
It ended in June, but we've extended it till July. But then at the last council meeting, y'all said it would be okay for it to go into August, so it's actually going to the end of August right now.
Right, so 2 months, right?
Correct.
Okay, so, all right, so we're gonna.
You would need another 2 more months to go through a proper RFP process. Because it's not just getting them in, it's also evaluating the companies.
Right.
I'm fine with it.
I'm okay with that.
Is that the consensus of the group that y'all want to do a new RFP on
You want to
this?
get the agenda for that, or you want to wait till September to actually make that motion?
The RFP I can go ahead and put back out. The extension of the contract,
We can do September.
we can do in September. he would technically not be working for 7 days, but
True. I mean, we can amend the agenda for tonight to include
if
that.
y'all would amend the
If it's
agenda.
necessary to continue the grass cutting process, that is a circumstance that allows it. So I make a motion to amend the agenda for tonight to include a line item that indicates extension to landscape.
Bless you.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to amend the, agenda for tonight to include,
Extending the landscape contract.
okay. Any questions? Need a second? You got your second.
I got a second.
Okay. Motion made and seconded. Any questions? All in favor? All opposed? Okay.
I make a motion to extend the landscaping contract for another 2 months if necessary,
Till the end of
to
October.
the end of October.
Motion made and seconded to extend the contract, to the end of September, right?
Extend,
In an
extend
effort
the
to
extension.
do the extension in the effort of resubmitting the RFP.
All right. Any questions? All in favor? All opposed? Okay. Very good. All right. Anything else, Ms. Sexton? You have anything? You good?
I'm gonna make a motion.
Okay, go ahead.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?